Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Michael Weir. I am a technical marketing engineer here at Ingram Micro. I'm also a CMMC registered practitioner. I'm here today to talk to you about a partnership between Okta and Yubico to give you secure multi-factor identity and access management. Quick agenda for today. First, we're going to talk about determining identity. We're going to be looking at NIST's opinion of what it is to determine identity. We're going to talk about the Okta and the Yubico solutions separately. Then we're going to talk about them together. I'm going to give you a brief overview of how it works from an end user perspective, and then a summary of everything we talked about. So since we're talking about identity, before we know anything else, we need to know what it's like to determine identity. And according to NIST, there's four different factors, three factors in an enrichment you can use to determine identity. The three factors that can be used for multi-factor are something you know, like a password, something you have, such as an authentication token, an app on a phone, something like that, and something you are, such as a fingerprint, a face ID, things along those lines that are more immutable. And then there's, of course, enrichment factors. Enrichment factors don't count as factors for multi-factor authentication. They're more for adaptive multi-factor authentication, like Okta has, device location, identity, usage patterns, that kind of thing. So that's determining identity per the NIST CSF. Let's talk about the Okta and Yubico solutions separately first here. So Okta's identity and access management solution is huge. If you look at the various quadrants, waves, any kind of reports like that, they're the market leader. They have everything from single sign-on adaptive MFA, lifecycle management, all the way down to API authentication and server-specific authentication for your PAM, all that sort of thing. Okta also has a network of 7,000 plus application and other integrations. So even if you use something very obscure, most likely it's in there. You can roll it into an application connection for Okta's SSO and adaptive MFA and manage the users there bidirectionally through Lifecycle Management Universal Directory. And even if it's not in there, originally the application isn't in there, you can always make custom ones. And I believe we're up over 7,100 actually since I made this presentation a few days ago. And of course, Okta is trusted. They've got the ISO certifications, the HIPAA, the FedRAMP. It's, as I said, it's a market leader. It's trusted. It's used by tons of people. Yubico also has a very large deployment, a number of people that use them. Yubico makes MFA tokens, whether they're HSM tokens, bio tokens, or your traditional hard tokens, FIDO type things in the YubiKey 5 series. Just a ton of options for how you want to authenticate into a device as a hard, in your hand second factor. So let's talk about the two of them together. And the two areas of the Okta solution we're going to talk about and how it pairs with PKware are the adaptive MFA and regular authentication. So Okta offers this. As I said before, they have industry-leading identity and access management, custom identity and access management. They have adaptive MFA, which is your you can use their app, you can do a push notification, put in the passwords, you can do biological factors, Face ID or a fingerprint off a phone. They have full lifecycle management, so this is for your M&As, this is for employee turnover, managing accounts, making sure you don't have dead ones hanging around that could be compromised, that kind of thing. However, there is something Okta lacks, and that is they don't have any physical devices. So there's no tokens with numbers on them. There's no tokens to plug into laptops or desktops or servers. Everything is happening through software. And what this means is since there's communication back and forth, they're open to phishing, smishing, and man-in-the-middle attacks to pick up that second factor, whether it be the push notification coming to a phone, something going back out to Okta's databases, things along those lines. Now, Okta does have methods to prevent that, but we're talking about the 1% of cases, the 0.1% of cases where that might not work out. That is a vulnerability area. So what does Yubico offer in this partnership? Now, Yubico, as I said before, offers physical MFA devices. And because these are physical, there's something that's in your hand, phishing, smishing, and man-in-the-middle. It's not something it's vulnerable to. It's literally a physical device. Someone can't, well, I suppose technically they could, but it'd be very hard for somebody to put something between that device and your computer, your laptop, desktop, server, what have you. So that's the phishing and smishing protection. But what Yubico lacks is the identity and access management solution. SSO, MFA with other devices, application integrations, user management, universal directory, that kind of thing. That's what Yubico doesn't have, the identity and access management piece of it. So of course, this is how we're putting them together, right? We're going to use Yubico's physical MFA devices with Okta's industry-leading IAM and SIAM to create a full package. So let's look at how this is going to work for the end user, what it's like to log in. So first, the user goes to Okta SSO. This is mine, so I have the things I don't want you to see blacked out. And they're asked for the username, potentially in this case your password. As I said before, you can go passwordless because it's no, have, and are. You could go have and are for your authentication without having to have the no of a password and still be doing multi-factor authentication. That's becoming more and more popular because passwords are sort of easy to compromise. A lot of people don't have very good password hygiene. They'll write it on a sticky note and stick it on the back of their computer, or they'll use the same one for everything. And I know no one listening does these things, right? But yeah, so user puts that in, then they're challenged for their second factor, and this is where they would insert their Yubico key, their YubiKey. Key. Insert and then tap. There's a tap functionality in YubiKeys to say, hey, this is actually someone here. I didn't just leave this inserted. So that's been inserted. They tap on their key, and once that happens, they're authenticated, and they're using their Okta, IAM, and SSO as they normally would to go to all these apps. Same security would always go with Okta, same ease of use to always go with Okta. We've just added that key in the middle. So to summarize what we're talking about today, this is the advantages of Okta and Yubico together. So we've talked about the enrichments, we've talked about the know, have, and are framework that NIST has per their NIST CSF. What this is doing, Okta is doing the something you know and the enrichment as part of their adaptive MFA. Something you know, username or password, whatever, and then the enrichment such as your device location, usage patterns, that sort of thing for Okta to do their adaptive MFA. Yubico is putting their key into that MFA to do the something you have, a physical have, that you're plugging into your laptop, like I said. And something you are, technically they can both do this, because Okta can do facial recognition or fingerprint recognition, that kind of thing, off of a portable device, or if your laptop has those things built into it. But it's not air-gapped. The Yubico something you are is air-gapped. There's nothing to intercept. There's no transmission back and forth. It's all local. So this is the advantages. I've already alluded to these pretty well. First, there's no pushes, texts, internet communications to intercept if you're combining the Okta and the Yubico solutions, unless you configure it that way, but then you're kind of defeating part of the advantages. I put there's no needs for passwords with a little asterisk. Depending on your configuration, you might still need passwords. This is just based on your configuration, but it can be done without passwords. There's no need to use personal devices. So this is a sticking point for a lot of companies because they don't have a company-issued phone, but they want people to put the Okta app on, or they want people to use their phone to get pushes or something like that. And that can get into compliance regulation problems because technically it's an unmanaged device. That can get into problems with contract if users say, well, if you're going to use it, you need to pay me for the use of my phone, that kind of thing. So using the YubiKey in there cuts out that personal device need. And it also has an immediate knowledge of compromise. Now that one might be less obvious right off the bat, but this is why I say that. So let's say you've got your YubiKey, you're keeping it in a good location, you go through an airport, and suddenly when you get to your destination, you realize you've lost your YubiKey. You can call tech support right away and say, hey, listen, I've lost my YubiKey, deactivate my account. So it's an immediate knowledge of compromise. More information on these things, I will put these links in the description so you don't have to memorize them now or pause and write them down. Of course, you're always welcome to email me or presenter, michael.weir@ingrammicro.com. And if you want a list of all the vendors that Ingram Micro has and the ways some of them partner together, securityalignedcard.com will take you there. And don't forget to realize the promise of technology. Thank you for listening and have a good day.